Hello, gentlemen. I'm aware of volume issues with these videos that I've been uploading recently. I don't know what's causing it at the moment. I'm using the same mic. Nothing's different. I will try to raise the volume levels in these newer videos, in these upcoming videos. Perhaps it's the fact that I've just moved and I'm recording in a new room than I usually am. So maybe the sound is resonating the wrong way. I don't know. But I've taken note of them and I will try to address them as soon as I can. This video is going to be brief but important. This video is going to address the Outstanding series, the outstanding political drama that Netflix has launched as one of its flagship original series, and that is the excellent House of Cards, starring Kevin Spacey. And if you haven't watched this series, I highly suggest you do. Because I think it portrays politicians in the light that they ought to be portrayed in. That is, incredibly dishonest, ruthlessly calculating opportunists. And I think it's very realistic and very much worth watching. And even if you don't believe that this is how politicians really behave, it's still an intriguing, insightful, and interesting series. But the reason that I'm bringing it up, and this is going to include spoilers, so if you haven't watched the series, again, I highly suggest you do so. And this video is going to address specifically the episode, I believe it's episode 5 on season 2. And this is where the spoiler comes in. So if you don't want to hear spoilers to the series, turn this video off right now. I'll allow a couple seconds for you to stop and go watch it on Netflix or do whatever it is you have to do. Stop this video now if you do not want to hear spoilers. But in the first couple episodes of season 2, Frank Underwood, played by Kevin Spacey, is now vice president, and the vice president's wife admits in an interview, in a CNN interview, that she was raped by I believe it was a military general or politician. I don't know exactly what his rank was, but she admits that she was raped by that general. And of course, there's no proof or anything like that. It's all hearsay. But it seems believable. It seems like it really did happen. And an interesting conversation takes place between the wife of the president and the wife of the vice president, played again by Kevin Spacey. There is a conversation where they are trying to solicit the president's wife, the first lady, for support in bringing to light issues that surround rape and sexual assault. And I find it very interesting how this conversation unfolded. Now, Kevin Spacey's wife, the vice president's wife, was being kind of lectured to by the president's wife, and she was kind of giving this generic spiel about how she found it so brave that she decided to reveal on an interview for the whole country to see that she was raped, and that she thought it was so brave, and yada yada yada, the generic rape industry tedium. And in fact, if she was raped, it is in fact something brave to admit on air. A lot of people don't want the whole country, the whole nation to know something like that. Fair enough. But when the president was lecturing Kevin Spacey's wife, she said, I think it's so brave what you did for the victims. She used the word victim specifically. And what I find interesting was that Kevin Spacey's wife corrected him. And one of her government functionaries, I don't know exactly what role this woman played, I assume it was one of the vice president's wife's assistants, said, and you know what? It's not just women that are affected by this. It's men too. Will you help us address these issues? Now, that may have flown under the radar for any of you that have watched it, but it certainly didn't for me. And it ticked off, it pinged an alert, if you will. There are people, don't think there aren't, there are people in mass media, Hollywood, even, I'm assuming, politics, and as many of you know, many of us have been included on the list of SPLC hate groups, but there are people that are paying attention to what's happening, what's burgeoning in this manosphere, this thing we call the manosphere. People are paying attention, and we might not be as big as we want to be right now, but there are people that are understanding that something is changing. There are people that are going to get ahead of it or attempt to get ahead of it. The feminist industry has for a very long time neglected the effects of rape on men and trivialized it and act as though it didn't happen. And I believe that they're starting to notice right now that they really can't get away with that anymore. And so we have to be cautious. I mean, on one end, it is very, very, very encouraging that men are being now mentioned alongside women, as victims of sexual assault in a show of this caliber. And this is an excellent show. And I believe this is the future. This is the future of television broadcasting or online broadcasting. Netflix, putting out a whole season in one day, like Netflix did with this excellent series. People are going to pay attention. A lot of people are going to watch that little conversation. And for many, I'm sure, as I've said, it'll fly under the radar. But for many, they will realize, perhaps even on a subconscious level, that men were just mentioned alongside women as possible rape victims. And that's a huge blow to the feminist narrative. Or is it? Or is it? One of the things that we have to be mindful of, that we have to be careful about, is the feminists co-opting what men's rights activists have started. They cannot be allowed to co-opt our message as their own. There are various angles. This can be a sincere attempt to portray men as human beings that are capable of experiencing the horror that is rape and sexual assault. Or this could be an attempt, and this is what I suspect, an attempt to get in front of the work that we've been building on, to portray men as human beings when nobody else wanted to, so that they can get in front of it, control the narrative, trivialize it, and keep the focus on women while paying lip service to men. So if you haven't watched this series, I highly suggest you do, and I want you guys to discuss this. Where's the angle, gentlemen? We need to discuss where's the angle at all times, because there are a bunch of people that are very interested in this burgeoning manosphere. And of course, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and we're making noise. Not as much noise as we should or could be making, but it's interesting. These are very interesting times, gentlemen. And the next couple of decades will be host to some very interesting conversations about how men are looked at in the society. Interesting times ahead, gentlemen. Discuss.